We changed Dale's swing maybe faster than anybody on planet Earth could do right here in this video.
What you'll see with Max Homa is as he goes back, right, he's going to be in his backswing, he's tilted over, right? He's turning and he's hinging the club up the plane, right? So his hands are there. When we talked a little bit about that disassociation, we watch yours on the left, you can kind of see that that you're doing the same thing, but you're kind of like early turning. You can see how much more of your kneecaps that you see than his.
So we're just gonna be kind of shifting and hinging, and then this will just kind of help in kind of giving you the feeling of getting your arms up and out compared to being this way. Now, Dale is a golfer just like you. Inside this video, we first diagnose what he did in his body, or quite frankly, what he couldn't do, because what his body was telling him was exactly showing up in his golf swing. So we needed to create a plan for his body. Then we created the ultimate practice plan for his golf swing, and we changed his swing ridiculously quick. And finally, we then brought in our playing skills director, Sean Fee, to teach him how to get out of his brain into his body so that he can be free on the golf course and not having a gazillion swing thoughts. So let's get to work, check it out. To start, right, we want to figure out how your body works relative to your swing.
Okay.
So just first and foremost, like, what kind of body ailments we have?
Yeah, so I've had multiple surgeries,
Okay.
but the big one, the one that has lingering effects, is the ACL tear in my left knee.
Left knee.
Yeah, and it's something where I did the surgery and did the rehab, but didn't do any more rehab.
Got it. So
I'm
did
a
fully
little
rehab
stiff, yeah, stiff in the left leg.
Okay.
So when I do Pilates or I do any other things, I can't do all the flexibility stuff with the left side.
Got it.
So,
Hey, sorry for interrupting your video, but I want to just make sure that you understand that your body is important, your swing is important, and your mind is important. Your skill, body, and mind are what make you up as a golfer. And many times, most players, and it never gets talked about on YouTube, social media, or whatever, is how these things go together, which is why we're here. I want to give you an opportunity where you can actually understand how your body impacts your swing and how your mind impacts your swing, which ultimately impacts your scorecard. So if that's of interest to you and you really want to dive in and you want to take your game to the next level, I want you to go to the link inside this video, and you're going to see an application to come join us right here in Columbus and build a plan for your game. Any other stuff? Ankles, shoulders?
shoulder, I had a shoulder, I had the rotator cuff, but it's perfectly fine.
On the left side.
On the left side.
Okay.
But I did a lot of rehab on that.
Got
so
it.
It's good.
Learned your lesson.
I'm back to normal. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
How was the low back doing?
Low back's good, especially since doing Pilates. I've been doing Pilates the last 4 years, so it seems to work really well as far as like core strengthening.
How often do you do that?
Twice a week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Wrists, elbows, ankles, all good?
Good.
Wrist, elbows, ankles, all good? Alrighty. So before we get started here, just tell me a little bit about your golf swing. What do you do well? What are you working on?
It's probably a couple things. One is my posture, getting my posture right, staying a appropriate distance from the ball, and then when I make contact, just being able to finish the shot. Just have, I don't have that pop when I hit the ball, and I don't get I don't get there. Is what
More toe
the problem.
taps.
More toe taps. Yeah, I don't do the toe tap.
Got it. Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do here is about a 14-15 mobility stability test. Just kind of take a look at how you move.
Okay.
So I'll show you the test first, and I'll have you repeat it. All right, Dale, so first thing that we have to work on with you is the pelvic tilt. So just kind of the arch and the flatten of the lower back, and making sure that our weight stays in the balls of our feet. You like to kind of initiate with the upper, which then kind of makes you lead with your upper. So kind of getting the glutes and core engaged, the pelvic tilt's number one. From there, just a little bit of internal hip rotation on both sides. We're lacking some mobility on the right and then some strength on the left. So we got to stabilize this left and open up the right a little bit.
Okay.
Then from there, just a little bit more thoracic spine rotation. It's really focusing on turning shoulders instead of kind of bumping hips all around. So opening up our upper back a little bit. And then once we have those movements down, then we can start to work on your lateral shift. So getting from right to left side.
Okay.
And then from there, we'll work on some dissociation. So then being able to move our hips without our upper body and move our upper body without our lower body.
Cool.
Most people we all have something, right? And then you can see that now there's a very clear, when we go through your video, there's a very clear
correlation between what you lack doing in your golf swing and what your body lacks being able to do. This chart right here, this is called pelvic sway. So this is how much my belt buckle is moving, right? Okay. So the purple line is the top 100 players in the world. And what you can see is that in their setup, they're at 0, right? Then they kind of shift a little bit to their trail side, so it moves to -1.
Okay.
Then it recenters back to 0. And then you can see that there's a really big lateral slide in downswing at chest high down to impact at 4 inches, 5 inches, 5 and 7. Scotty Scheffler's like way up here, which is why he drags his toe.
Okay.
You're at 0.
That's what you were talking about too.
Right. So like you don't push into that left hip. So your backswing's like, okay, it's a little bit sway back at -1, but then you basically just stay there and turn, which is going to really make two things happen. One, your low point is going to be too far behind the golf ball.
Sure.
2, actually there's multiple things. 2, because you have no dynamic shift, you're going to have no lag.
Right. Because
a lag is an effect of shifting, right? That's the effect. It's not like if you need to shift to create lag, you don't just create lag from here. It would be artificial.
Right.
And then the third piece is that because of this, because you have no way of like when he talked about like the twerking drill,
yeah.
When you go here, then I want to be pushing up out of the ground, and that would allow my hands to exit higher and control the face. Because you're back like this with your weight on your trail foot, the club always exits low and left. You can't control the face, which is why you see this chicken wing in your follow through.
Gotcha.
Which is shutting the face, and where does the ball miss? Left and contact.
Right.
And it's all because of that.
Okay.
So you could make an argument, which we're not going to make the argument, but you could go, hey, go work with Aaron or Lindsay and go work with them for a couple months, and then we'll pick up your lessons.
Yeah.
Right? But we don't want to do that. We can fix it, but they do go hand in hand. Yeah. Right? Like they're connected, which is why on the wall it says skill, body, and mind.
Sure.
Does that make sense? So, and then two other things just to kind of showcase it as well. You can see that your chest, the center of your chest is also behind.
Okay.
So your pelvis is at 0 and your chest is 2 inches, where we want our pelvis to be at 4 and our chest is behind our hips, but we need to be more this way. And then the second piece, which is why sometimes the club gets too steep, this is called sway gap. So sway gap is the difference between the center of your chest and the center of your belt.
Okay.
And you can see that the tour player goes up to the top, and then their sway gap from the top increases. So they're going here, I'm going to be very dramatic, but they go this way.
Okay.
So now that there is like at impact, there's a 5-inch gap between my hip and my belt, whereas you were -3. So you're kind of this way and going left. Okay, so we have you on the left and Max Homa on the right, right? Very efficient golf swing. Mm-hmm. What you'll see with Max Homa is as he goes back, right, he's going to be in his backswing, he's tilted over, right? He's turning and he's hinging the club up the plane, right? So his hands are there. When we talked a little bit about that disassociation, we watch yours on the left, you can kind of see that that you're doing the same thing, but you're kind of like early turning. You can see how much more of your kneecaps that you see than his.
Oh, interesting.
And then you see how your club is under the plane. Mm-hmm. That is because you're not hinging the club. Remember, we have tilt, turn, and hinge. So we just need to go more this way, like we're hinging a hammer.
Okay.
And if we can see that if we hinged our thumbs up, that would put the club on plane.
Okay.
Right. So now what ends up happening is as we get up to the club kind of now looks, because of the lack of hinging, the club looks outside the ball compared to the club looking at or slightly inside the ball, which is what we call the first steep of steep, shallow, steep, right? So now that shaft's looking inside the target line. And when a club looks outside the target line, right, with the way that the mass of the club is and the weight of it, right, when it goes outside the target line, it then wants to go this way to recreate leverage. Just like if I was going to chop wood, I'd go like this and then back down. I would never go like, like you're creating leverage on the axe, which is what you're going to do in your swing. Okay. So now, as it goes back, it goes shallow. You get at a pretty decent spot here, but then you can see how it just spins at the top. And what happens with Max is you can see that if I go here and I draw a line on his left leg right here, you're going to see how his pelvis will shift 4 inches in the line. So as he's, can I borrow your club really quick?
Sure, sure.
So as he's up to the top, he's just shifting and lowering his arms like this, which puts the club on plane compared to being behind and then just spinning, which then throws the club head out.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. It's like any sport. It's like throwing a baseball.
Yeah, so you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
you're not like stepping and throwing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the golf motion, while people say it's different, it's actually like every other.
Sports motion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're all the same. Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
does that sound good?
Sounds
So
great.
let's create a feedback station to now where you can feel
Okay.
what it should feel like.
Sounds good.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Everyone needs a plan, and ultimately I want to make it so that you have a plan. So inside this video, inside the link, you're going to find an opportunity to take a new student swing assessment with my coaches at the Golf Room Everywhere, where we're going to give you a full diagnostic report to what you ultimately do and what you need to ultimately fix and how to fix it. Right? So not just telling you what you do wrong, but actually giving you the prescription and the remedy, like the practice stations that you're seeing inside this video, we're gonna provide that for you. So if that is of interest, go to our description of this video. You'll see a little link there for a new student swing assessment. Check it out, send us your video, get a full report of whatever it is that you need to do for your swing so that ultimately you can start playing your best golf. But in the meantime, let's get back to the video. So this is your right foot, this is your left foot. So you start with 62% on your trail foot,
Okay.
which we want 55 on our lead foot.
All right.
So that we can then shift to our right foot,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
So we start right, which is not correct, and you can see you're 94% in your heel, which is what Aaron was saying,
Okay.
right? Then you can see that as you turn, like there's no shifting of the pressure. It just kind of like stays there. And then you can see your transition when you get to shaft vertical, you want 80% of your pressure on your lead side. You can see you have 47%.
Gotcha.
So your pressure is just sitting in the middle of your feet. There's nothing underneath like pushing into the ground. Like Ben Hogan said, I felt like I was like crushing a pack of cigs underneath my left foot.
Okay.
There's no cigs being crushed. You're protecting your darts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to kind of work on right now.
Okay.
Is you can see, if you look up there at the top, you see how this thing is moving. So I'm left, right, left,
Okay.
right? And you can hear the sound,
Yes.
right? The other thing, that's the pressure shifting, because we saw that your pelvis was back and your chest was back. The second
Right.
one is we have the hinging, because you kind of took the club inside. So that's where we've got this stock shot setter that also makes the face square to where you're shifting and hinging,
Okay.
right? So we're just going to be kind of shifting and hinging. And then this will just kind of help in kind of giving you the feeling of getting your arms up and out compared to being this way,
Gotcha.
where it's kind of down and low, okay?
Gotcha.
So let's make some practice swings.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see, watch up here on the left, right? So we're gonna go left. So we're gonna start left, see
Okay.
that? Then as we go back, we're going back and hinging. So see how that feels like you're leveraging your wrists a little more?
Yes.
Then you shift to the left and then extend your arms out high and finish, right?
Gotcha.
So it'll feel like you're kind of really, really extending out to the top. So you're kind of going left, right, left. Yeah, there you go. Good. Again. Left, right, left. Good. Again. Try to feel like when you go out, when you're swinging through, you're kind of coming out towards me, Dale. So back, hinge it, left, hinge, right, left. Good. Again. So to go back, it'll kind of hinge, right, and then it comes down here and out. There you go. Good.
Okay.
Left, right, left. Left. Good. So watch this now. So now if I draw this up the plane, you can see that at this stage, you can see how the club on the right was very under.
And now, as it goes back, you can see it's on top of your hands, just like that Max Homa video.
Interesting. Yes.
Right? And that's
Yes.
the hinging
That's the hinging.
of tilt,
Okay.
turn, and hinge. So you turn, fine.
Okay.
You don't hinge.
Hinge. Okay.
So you go, which word am I on? I go, you need to work on the hinge piece,
Gotcha.
right? So we go tilt, turn, and hinge. You go, I got to work on the hinge. So now we get up to the top. And you can see now, even with that, you have a lot more width. See how your left arm is still matching your shoulders, right? Your hands are a little higher, but they're not too high, right? Because we want ideally our hands to be kind of like right over our heels,
Right.
right? So you definitely have enough depth,
Okay.
right? Now, as it came down, you could see on the right video, you would kind of spin right here in your transition, right? And the club was steep. See how the club's like looking inside the ball?
Yes.
Whereas now, the club is shallowing, and you can see how much more shallow and low it is. See how it's going through your right forearm, whereas here it's like through the middle of your shoulder,
Yeah.
right? And then it's going to exit on the left, the good one. You can see how the club exits way higher, right? Whereas this one kind of exits like low and around and chicken wing.
Gotcha.
Right? And then you can see here, watch how much this left hip moves. So see how it moves towards the screen?
Yeah.
And then look at how you're nice and extended. Whereas here on the right, right, this is that line. You can see it would just kind of spin, and it's kind of super narrow,
Gotcha. Yeah. Tucked in.
right? Probably feels weird as hell.
Weird as hell. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you look at the curriculum,
yes.
right? We've got our setup with our tilts and stuff, right? We didn't talk a lot about that right now, but that was you can have good posture. It's just something you need to be more mindful of.
Right.
You tilt and turn good,
Okay.
but you don't hinge in banner 3.
Okay.
Then banner 4, you do not shift.
The weight to the left.
Yeah.
Back to the left.
You do not shift, and you've been trying to drive, but you drive. If I just like throw my arms, then I'm going to be casting, and it's over the top, right? I got to like shift and then drive my arms.
Okay.
And then because I push left, now I can pivot, snap, and then that'll allow me to turn, match, and fold,
Gotcha.
right? So you're really honing in on hinging and shifting. Those are like the two pieces.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Very good. Yes.
So Tiger Woods, I say this quote a lot, Dale. Tiger Woods says that when he tried to change his golf swing 4 different times,
Okay.
they said, how did you do it? So if he walked through the door, you go, I'm with Kyle, and I want to change my swing. Tiger, you change your swing. How would you change your swing?
Yeah.
And he said, first, I needed to understand what I need to do. You go, oh, that's great. I just sat with Aaron and Kyle. I now understand what I need to do.
Right.
He goes, then I would sit in a place with a camera, and I had to make sure it looked correct. So you can see that when I'm doing this, there's no numbers and there's no ball flight.
Sure.
I just need to make sure that it looks good.
Sure.
Then he goes, after it looks good, then it starts to feel good, because right now you're like, this feels weird. Then after it feels better, then it starts to perform better, because then your tempo gets better. Then you can start to do it on a course. Then you can do it in your member. And that's the stage of progression. So it's understand, look, feel, perform, course, tournament.
Cool.
Compared to just like, I should be able to do a tournament tomorrow. It's like, that's not how this works.
Sure.
Right? Those would be kind of like your Band-Aid lessons. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of stumble into something. Oh. So a little spinny on that one. Do you feel the board kind of twisted?
I didn't get my left side moving the right way.
But that's the beauty of the feedback, because the feedback tells you like, oh, you go, oh, I can feel the board didn't
Because
shift.
I swung before I got down here.
Right.
Before I got back here, yeah.
Yep.
Do it
Nice and slow. Left. Right. Try. Be better. So let's see, did it go up so watch the club. So see how the club goes up the shaft. So that's better. That's better. That's better. You just kind of threw it a little bit this way, but that's okay.
Gotcha.
First thing is the left, right, left. And that's where when you're practicing, like if you're doing this on your own, you go, everyone's different, right? So if you go, you want practice to be hard,
Yeah.
but you also don't want it to be so hard that you quit.
Yeah.
So it'd be like if we were in the gym, he's like, hey, I need you to bench press 600 pounds. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm just going to leave,
Yeah.
right? So that's where you go, hey, if your brain can handle the shift board,
Yeah.
And you go, I'll chill there for now. And then you go, hey, I think I could do that. Let me add in the setting of my wrist a little more. You go, oh, cool. And then it's like, okay, now let me add this in. This is all 3, but maybe you go, hey, like, that's too much.
Okay.
And you go, let me chill here and own this for a while. Everybody's tolerance is a little different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you remember, like, at the old video,
Yes.
this is the pelvic sway,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So the old one, now it says that you're shifting 4 inches to the right, which is not ideal. That's because you got a shift board there. That's why it's like, yeah, you got to shift, and it kind of makes you shift that way.
Right.
Right. But the cool thing is that you can see that there is a 5-inch difference in your transition, which is that same 5-inch transition that you see in the tour player.
Gotcha.
So now you can see that you're here, and then you're getting this pelvis to move more left,
Okay.
which is what you're wanting,
Sure.
right? Compared to it was you kind of went back and it was -1, and then it was 0. Like there was no
Yes.
shifting at all.
Right.
So the drill kind of validates, meaning it makes it look better.
Sure.
Then it's just a matter of you making it. You got to make it feel better to then
Through
perform
practice.
better. What is FocusBand, and what are we measuring here?
Absolutely. So we can see here that it's measuring 2 sides of the brain. Just to
Okay.
kind of simplify it, those are the only 2 sides we're going to focus on. We have the prefrontal cortex, which when you pop up in red there, that's going to be you and your prefrontal cortex. And that's more of like your analyzing, thinking part of your brain, right? It's very important, especially in the game of golf. We need that part of our brain to make the right decisions. But ideally, when we're getting ready to commit to our shot, standing over the ball, we don't want to be thinking technical. We want to be more in our feel, creative side of our brain, and that's in our motor cortex. And what you can see here is it measures when you're in which side of your brain.
Okay.
So ideally today, we're going to find a couple things that can help get you out of that thinking brain and into that creative side of your brain where you're not thinking as much, just being an athlete, like Kyle said.
Cool.
So you're trying to make it to where you practice, like Jack Nicklaus told me, you practice by mechanics, but then you play by feel. So when you go play golf, Dale, like, we really want you to be what we kind of say, coin of like paying attention to an intention. So like the intention, which we'll cover a couple of them, but let's just say it's like soft shoulders. You hope that because of the practice that you have, when you go soft shoulders, you hope that like this left, right, left motion of what you're working on your feet shows up. And that's why you practice.
Right.
And over time, that becomes subconscious. Just like there's things that you did at one time that were really hard, say like doing 5 + 5, and then over the course of time you're like, yeah, 5 + 5, it's 10. But at one time you're like, oh my God, this is so hard. Like I gotta need a pencil, right? So that's why you practice, so that when you play, you want that motion to come up, but you're better off making, this is one of my favorite sayings that I learned from Ray Floyd, is that you're better making a swing that has a lot of confidence, but it's technically wrong, than a swing that's technically correct with a lot of thought and indecision. Yeah. Because rhythm, tempo, and balance trump everything. And that's where like you get in like a flow state, like when you're on the range, you're like, man, I'm just like, I can't miss.
Right.
Right? And then a consequence comes up, it makes you create tension, and then you go, oh my gosh, I just put it in that guy's pool. So, cool.
Also, people always say, they come up and they say, like, Sean, I want to turn my brain off. That's not necessarily, like, ever going to be the case, right? Like, sometimes we can get in that state of flow where we're just firing on all cylinders, but it's kind of my job to help give you a plan to not turn your brain off, but instead, like Kyle said, more like singularize your thinking. Like, just focus on one specific thing that's also going to help you in your golf game. So that's kind of what today's about, too.
Yeah. Cool. To make you very, very present.
Yep.
Sure.
So based upon what you're doing, the first thing that I think we should do, Sean, I'll kind of let you kind of lead it here, is maybe the feeling of like the left foot. Because he has some pressure, he has some trouble shifting in his feet.
Okay.
So I think maybe a connection, like really feeling like you're paying attention to his feet in the ground.
Yeah, one thing we kind of say a lot too is like almost your feet like melting into the ground. It's like a physical sensation of your ground. Or I always do like a mindfulness walk with people where on the way to their next ball they actually feel the sensation of their feet hitting the ground to keep their mind free and not thinking about other things. So it's kind of just your feet pressure. You're actually standing on the mat right now, so you kind of want to replicate that feeling of your feet on the mat and focusing on that pressure. Okay. So when your brain's wanting to think about everything else, you kind of just make that your sole focus.
Okay.
So it's the only thing you're paying attention to is just the feeling of the ground against your feet. And we're going to make some shots and we're going to measure on your brain to see how if we can get you out of your brain.
All right. I'm going to scoot back here. You can just go ahead and hit about 3 of these.
how would you grade your, we'll give you another one, but trying to really focus on just the only intentions, the feeling underneath your shoes.
Just underneath.
Yep. You can pop. You see, popped in our motor cortex here.
Good.
So, according to this, on that specific one, it helped you get into that motor cortex. You popped into that green. Now, this is great to kind of give an idea, and it's always awesome when the two things match, but the most important thing is how you feel about it, right? Do you think that that helped you kind of get out of your overthinking brain a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, that definitely matched on here. As soon as you started to stand over the ball, you popped into that green, popped into that motor cortex. So, same thing, focusing on your feet in the ground here, that foot pressure. I mean, according to this, that one's really great for you. So we know that kind of a feel one might work. I'd be curious to try something completely different to see if like something visual works. Maybe a dimple on the ball. That's completely different than a feel one, right? It's totally based on something visual. Some people, because we know you like the feel thing, you might hate this. You're not hurting my feelings. I didn't think of it, right? Sure. You might love it. It might surprise you. So focusing on a dimple or a mark on the ball is one that some people love.
Just focus on the one there,
That's up
maybe.
for you to decide.
Yeah,
it's just, even if you, so some people say like, I struggle finding one dimple. Honestly, as long as you're trying to find it, you're keeping your brain you're keeping your brain focused on one specific thing, right? That's really the main purpose. So a dimple or a mark here. All right, let's do one more of those. So you tell me if this matches. Like I said, it's not always like perfect, but according to this, you found it a little bit harder to get into your motor cortex than maybe the first one. Yeah, you got into the green a little bit, but you were back and forth. The other one, you were in green 100% of the time.
The technical side, right? Like I'm looking at the visuals and like the swing and like that, and then Aaron's looking at like how the body's doing, and then Sean's like looking at your lips.
Yeah, I don't even really look at.
He doesn't even
It's not a big enough sample size for like to correlate the two things. I'm not even looking at the screen.
So he's looking at like, is his jaw tense when he swings? Like, does his eye squint? Like, can you see like the veins in his arms? Like, is there white in his fingertips? Like, the tempo and the stuff, because really good timing and tempo will smooth out everything. It's like the lipstick to the pig.
Okay.
Right? So it's like, and those things, but you have to practice it. Like, you can't just be like, good, I'll go play in the Masters tomorrow and do this, right? It's like you gotta
mental reps.
Yeah, you gotta exercise that brain muscle just like you do and that's what you would do in your practice. That's what you would be focusing on in your randomizing and your competing.
Okay.
Right? So your programming, that's the start of your practice, and then your block practice, that's where we would be doing the shift board and the noodle and the stock shot setter. Then you go into your randomizing and competing, and that's where Sean comes in, to where you're like, okay, we need to get in a flow state because now I need to win. Right? I got to shoot a score.
It's actually like that's the best time to practice it in here, because you're kind of thinking like if you're in a bay for an hour, you're thinking pretty technical for the first like 45 minutes, right? Like you're very much in that analytical prefrontal cortex. So it's going to be a little bit challenging to get out of it. That's why it's the perfect time to be like, okay, the last 10 minutes, I'm going to go play a course, and I'm only going to focus on my intention. It'll be a good way to kind of practice switching from that prefrontal to like that feel, go be an athlete mode. And it's fun too. It's a great way to end practice, you know? Yeah.
Cool. Well, hopefully, Dale, that kind of helps you learn like a lot about how you connected your body to your swing, and then how the swing connect to like a mental cue, so that you're not thinking of like running through an algorithm of a checklist over the golf ball.
Which I do.
Which is, and it doesn't, even if you make perfect golf swings, it's not going to make a difference.